The reason why you sabotage yourself is because you do not trust yourself. Therefore, if you did trust yourself, then there would be no more self-sabotage. There would be no more need for self-sabotage. So that's what we're going to get into today. I'm going to talk to you about all the different ways in which we self-sabotage, why we do it, and really how self-trust is the one key that will rectify it. It'll be the one that allows you to bring it to a close so that instead of just like hitting endless cycles of frustration, right? So instead of just like struggling with the same thing again and again and again and again and messing yourself up at the same place and even worse, like putting in all this effort into something and just getting nothing back, like that being a form of self-sabotage. We're going to talk about how to stop that and how to replace that with just like moving ahead, like getting the thing, moving into the next panel of your story. And how self-trust is the key to that, to unlocking that. That's what we're going to get into now. So if we've never met, my name is Brent. Lovely to meet you. I'm a coach, a healer, a intuitive, and I work with people in groups and one-on-one to help unlock their power, unlock their clarity, and for people who have a sense of like, oh, there's just like shit that I could be doing that I'm not doing. Like my life could be better. I just know it, but I can't like seem to make it happen. I help people make that happen. I help people find where there's hidden self-sabotage, among many other things, bringing it to a close so that we can expand to our next level of growth. That is what I do. So self-sabotage, of course, as you can imagine, is a topic that comes up a lot. So it'll be exciting to talk about it here. And I hope that this can be a reference for you, a resource for you that you can return to any point in the future if you find yourself experiencing self-sabotage, because this is a very universal human theme. It's, so many people feel like they're experiencing this in their own solitude on their own, but I've barely met a human being that does not sabotage themselves in some way. So thus the importance of this talk. Let us begin then with a few examples. So a few practical examples. I don't know, let's just say you are writing an article, writing a book, and you've been working for a long time on it, and you get almost to the end. Have you ever experienced this? You get like just almost to the very end. Let's just say your rough draft is nearly complete, and then you just make this decision like, no, the whole thing's garbage, and you throw the whole thing in the trash. Have you ever done that? This is quite common. A different form of self-sabotage is when you are in a group of people and you're talking and you're about to tell a story or tell a joke and you kind of like flub it up and the delivery doesn't come out properly and it's kind of embarrassing and it falls flat and you kind of messed up the moments. That's another form of self-sabotage. Leaving your house and just like not looking your best and claiming that, oh, it doesn't matter. This is something I used to do as a kid. Like just, it doesn't matter how I look, who cares? And so claiming something doesn't matter, that really does matter. That's a form of self-sabotage. Allowing yourself to get distracted from your work. So you set up for the morning, it's time to work, and you think, all right, well, I'm just going to check YouTube first. I'm just going to check TikTok first. I'm just going to, X, Y, Z. And then suddenly 3 hours have passed and you've lost the whole morning through distraction. That's a form of self-sabotage. Breaking promises to yourself. This is another form of self-sabotage. You told yourself you're going to stop eating chips and you eat chips. Self-sabotage. Allowing time to pass without making an important decision. Say you're a high school student, you're trying to choose your college major or your university major, and the whole year comes and goes and you never choose anything because you're so overwhelmed by choice that you never actually end up applying to anything. And so you have to stay behind for a year or do a victory lap at high school or something. Or say you want to just simply, much more commonly, choose what to watch on Netflix at night, after a long day. And you spend all this time trying to figure out what you're going to watch, and then the night just comes and goes and you don't end up watching anything. This is another form of self-sabotage. Spending too much time on your phone. Self-sabotage. So you can see it takes a handful of different forms. Some of them are just choices that you make that run contrary to your highest well-being. Choices that you make that run contrary to what you've promised yourself, what you've committed to yourself. Choices that you make that represent you breaking trust with yourself. And then there are other forms of self-sabotage where it feels like it's not even a choice you're making. It's almost like your body betrays you. Like your body just doesn't allow you to move in the direction. It just pumps you full of fear, or it causes you to feel confused or like tired at the wrong moment, but like you're not actually tired. You're well slept, but you just suddenly feel too tired to do something that you know is correct for you to do. And then maybe the third one would be just like letting time pass by default. So just time just passes and nothing happens. So the broad themes here, so just to reiterate one more time. Number one is you don't do as you say you're going to do. Number two is your body betrays you in some way. And then number three is just allowing time to pass without doing anything. And so in all of these cases, what happens is the greatness that is in us. And if you don't really like the word greatness, then just the next level of expansion, the next level of growth, whatever that looks like, that's in us to be expressed, doesn't get expressed. It's really important for us all to be honest about the fact that there will always be a next level of growth in us. There's always something bigger and better that we're able to do to play on a larger level and explore greater territory and create greater things out in the world. This is the case for everybody all the time, always. There's just always the next level to get to. But if we don't do it, if we don't make that thing happen, if we don't actually take action on that thing, then time will pass and our life will pass and we won't have done that thing. And there's no need to exaggerate this as a terrible thing where, like, at the end of the day, it really is totally fine. There's still beauty and purpose and meaning in your life. Deep, profound beauty, meaning, and purpose in your life. But on the level of success and on the level of self-actualization, there's no law written in the universe that you are definitely 100% going to actualize your potential. This is something that you must do deliberately on your own. You must choose to do it and actually do it. And if you don't do it, it won't get done. It won't get done for you, for example. It won't be done automatically on its own. What you may notice is that if you don't actualize your potential, then as time goes on, you'll feel increasingly sort of angsty and depressed and weird and sort of bitter, and that will be your emotional field telling you that you're not properly honoring and respecting yourself. So like that, sort of the pressure cooker turns up in your will become more intense in your world as time goes on. But that doesn't mean it will make the critical choices for you to do the thing. This is something that you yourself must do. And so you are not given anything to do in your life that you can't do. So in other words, you have potential to be actualized in the world. You have gifts to give in the world. And it's not like you were given these gifts to express to the world, but you're not able to do them. You are able to do them. There's nothing in your destiny. There's nothing in your purpose, your life's purpose, that is larger than you or something beyond your ability to accomplish. Does this make sense? You can do this. And you do know how to do it. And you do have the authority to do it. And you do have the requisite permission to do it. Like there's permission for you to do this, to release your work into the world and do it. But you must do it. That's the catch. You have to do it. And so as you can see, as I'm laying this all out here, how important trust is. Trust is so important. Trust that you can, trust that you should, trust that it's a good idea, trust that the world really does want from you that which you want to give to the world. Would you be willing to accept this? And a really important piece about trust is that You also can trust yourself. And I say this because I talk to a lot of people about trust, especially lately. And the most common thing that a person will want to say about trust is like, I can't do it. I can't just trust myself. It's not safe, this sort of thing. But in the final analysis, what we always discover is that trusting yourself is something that you can do if you choose. But likely the reason why you don't is because you choose not to, because on some level you don't believe it's safe. And so that's something we're going to talk about as well today. So suffice to say, bringing a close to self-sabotage is crucial if it is your desire to actualize your potential. Not everybody has this desire. I'm telling you right now, like if you're watching this, you probably do, and you might make the mistake of thinking everybody in the world wants to actualize their potential. This is not true. Most people don't. Most people don't care about that. Most people don't watch videos like these. Have you noticed? Most people don't want to talk about anything related to self-help or self-development, or maybe they want to pay some sort of lip service to it, but they don't actually want to do it. They don't actually want to set up some sort of new habit or routine where they're really, really doing it. So I would like for you to really consider that. Right. So good. So to land the plane, self-sabotage, we bring it to a close by trusting ourselves. Good. So now we can talk about how to trust ourselves. And so I'm going to give you 5 approaches to it, 5 approaches to trusting yourself that will work for you. Number 1, trust the original idea. And so the idea behind this is simple. You will get a hit of something that you feel inspired to do. Let's take a new example. Let's say that you want to write a song because you're a musician, and you get maybe, say, an idea of a chorus. There's a melody that plays in your head that you want to make a song around. Okay, good. In that moment, there is the original inspiration. And if we were to look at it like, say, a graph of inspiration over time, I'll do this from your angle here. We start with inspiration up here, and then when it comes time to actually make the song, usually what happens is inspiration goes down and trust goes down. Where at this point we go, oh wait, maybe this idea isn't so good after all. Maybe this song isn't going to turn out very well at all. And then if we don't know better, then we will often abandon the song at this point. And if you've been at this for a long time, then you will have probably a graveyard of songs that you've started and then stopped and never returned to. But the funny thing is that if you return to any of these songs, what you will very likely discover, these half-completed songs, is that they're really good. So you click on them and they're 30 seconds long and you listen to them and you go, that's actually really nice. That's really good. That's not nearly as bad as I had made it out to be in my mind. And the reason for that is because you have talked yourself out of the original inspiration. When we are following inspiration, there's always a negotiation between 2 voices. There's the voice of the original inspiration, and then there's the part of you that is terrified of doing something wrong, of embarrassing yourself, of wasting time, etc., etc., etc. Any fear that is associated with making something and putting it out into the world, that's the fear of survival speaking. And so that fear will always be its loudest, really basically throughout the whole thing after the inspiration. And so one way of approaching trust and cultivating trust that will bring self-sabotage to a close is by making a decision that between these 2 voices, it's the original inspiration that is to be trusted. Because it's like, say if you have the devil on your shoulder and your angel on your other shoulder, at the end of the day, you can't let these 2 voices be equal voices to you. One of them has to be the boss. One of them has to be the authority that wins out over the other. And very importantly, it's not like the part of you that's afraid of your survival, afraid for your survival. is something that we should never listen to, or is like some sort of enemy or antagonist in your life, that's not true either, because it will have valuable things to say. Like, because this part of your mind is the part of you that will give you feedback. It will take in criticism. It will want to make things better. It wants to hold a really high standard for you. So like, that's all great. Like, that's, we don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater on it, but it's not the boss. That's the decision that we're making now. The boss is the original inspiration. And so by allowing that part of you to be the boss, the captain, to be like the really the ultimate authority between these two elements of your psychology, then it will allow you to push through. And you kind of want to imagine it like pushing through dense jungle, where you're making this song and you just keep running into brush. There's like leaves in your face, and you know, metaphorically we're referring to this part of your mind that says, no, this song sucks. It sucks. Stop, turn around, go back home. It sucks. Don't do it. Everybody's going to hate it. It's going to ruin your career. All of the fans that you already have, they're going to leave once they hear this song, right? And you'll notice it's going to say increasingly scathing things as you continue to make this song. And so your job is like, you can't fight it, right? You can't make this voice go away. You can't make it stop. We're way beyond that, right? But what you can notice is the impotence, the impotence of this voicing, where it's just voicing and it's not rooted in truth, it's rooted in fear. And so by knowing that it's rooted in fear, then you let it play over you, like the leaves moving past your face, say, or like maybe, imagining it like moving through mist or moving through fog where you can't see anything, but you're still able to move forward. That's kind of what we're doing here. And so then get all the way to the end, make it and edit it and make it good. And what you could do at that moment, if you wanted, is you could actually put the song down in its completed form, leave for a day or a week, and then come back to it later afresh. And you may notice that it's actually really good. Maybe give it a few more edits if you want to. And then it comes time to actually release it. And if you feel nervous at the point of releasing it, like, oh, this is going to suck, or maybe worse, nobody's going to listen, nobody's going to care, you post it anyway. You post it anyway. And the reason why you post it anyway is because it doesn't matter if anybody listens. It doesn't matter if anybody cares. It doesn't matter if anybody likes it. What matters is that you post it. Oh, what matters is that you post it. Because it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's just one fucking song. Your career, if you're a musician, is to make a boatload of songs, is to be in the process of making songs. I go through a similar thing with these YouTube videos where I go, oh, nobody's going to watch, nobody's going to care. But really, I'm playing the long game. I'm doing this in order to get good at these videos, in order to make them engaging and interesting and exciting, and to hopefully build an audience over time. So it's a matter, like I will always look back at stuff that I made a year ago and see room for improvement. That will just always be the case. But I won't see that unless I actually make it. So I do this for you. I do this for me, and I do this also for future videos so that I can continue to get better and better at, say, delivery and lighting and all the things that go into filming. So that's it. So allowing sabotage to stop you because this one thing that you're doing may not work is truly and deeply false. Sabotage is just something yelling at you with a megaphone while you do your work. And again, we're playing long game here. It's about continuously doing things. It's about getting comfortable with doing things that somebody will hate or somebody will ignore. If you're lucky, if you're fortunate, you will get people that come and say nasty things to you on the internet because, at the risk of being a cliche, that's how you know people are paying attention. You start with getting actual haters. It's pretty cool. Number 2, on the list of how to trust yourself. Know that any form of choice or activity is preferable even in the worst case scenario. So that's what we were talking about before, but I'm going to talk a little bit about choice and choosing and decisiveness. So for those of us who don't trust ourselves and therefore sabotage ourselves all the time by not making choices or decisions, there's a deep sense that we are going to F things up. I've already said fuck. We're going to fuck things up. There's a sense of, I'm going to choose something wrong. I'm going to make a wrong decision and fuck it up. And I want to offer to you the truth that it is you who has created your whole life up until now, including the degree of success that you have created for yourself. For example, if you have a home, if you have work, if you have a relationship, if you have your health, ideally most of your health, you've been able to get yourself to this point thus far, then this indicates that you have been the creator of your success. You know how to make choices. You know how to make decisions. You do this by taking in information, taking in expert advice, opinions, and then stopping taking in expert advice and opinions because, enough is enough. And then you just make a choice based on what you know. Those of us who don't trust ourselves, we kind of stay at the sideline for a long time, continuously taking in more information, more opinions, creating more lists of pros and cons and advantages and disadvantages. And then it makes the decision heavier and heavier and more confusing. The best way to make a decision, if you want to make the best decision, is just get a little bit of information and then choose. And choose based on what makes your body the happiest. You can always trust your body. Okay, number 3, as we were hinting at a little bit earlier, what do you claim is not a big deal, but actually is? We sabotage our growth by claiming certain problems are not a big deal. This is massive, 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 massive. Whatever we are in denial of, whatever is causing us to sabotage ourselves is almost always something that we don't want to look seriously at, and we don't want to treat it like an actual problem. We want to minimize it. And so therefore we'll say it's not a big deal. So with a lot of honesty, would you be willing to answer this question? What are you saying is not a big deal but actually is? For a lot of people, it's unexpressed emotion. So it's unexpressed grief, guilt, or shame. Or oftentimes, it's when we are in non-forgiveness about something, either towards ourselves or other people. So somebody did something, and we said, okay, I'm over it. But you're not. It still feels bad. It's still simmering somewhere. You still get little spikes of anger when you think about it. But it's like, oh, it's not a big deal. Really, almost all the time, whenever we say it's not a big deal, what we're really saying is, I wish it were not a big deal. Now, if we give some attention to this thing that up until now we've been claiming is not a big deal, there's this fear of blowing it out of proportion. Oh, I'm afraid I'll make it into too big of a thing and I'll make it larger than it is and whatever. But we won't. There's no risk here of making something larger than what it is. We can't. It just is what it is. There's anger, there's grief, there's shame, there's fear, there's confusion, there's frustration with that one person, with that thing you did. Just acknowledge it. You acknowledge it very simply. It takes a lot of courage, but it's very simple. You just say, I'm frustrated. I'm confused. I'm angry. I'm in grief. I'm in shock. I feel hatred. I hate this person. Right? And expressing it exactly the way it appears in your heart. Don't say it to that person necessarily, but say it out loud. Say the thing that you never allow yourself to say. What's just off limits in your heart? You just can't give yourself permission to feel that way and express that thing. Well, if you don't give yourself permission to say it, express it, feel it, or acknowledge it, then you'll just be unconsciously fighting it. There will just be conflict. And what happens when there's conflict? Self-sabotage. Because we cannot carry this conflict with us in the direction that we're going. In the direction of our growth, our awakening. Consult your body as the final determiner, as we were saying a little bit before, but I'll expound upon it here. Consult your body. We had this meeting in the Sovereign Creators Collective where we were discussing truth, and we were discussing how the body knows truth. The body knows what truth feels like. And the body, like truth feels like, the body just knows. It's like when somebody says something that's true, there's no denying it, right? It just clears all the denial out of the room. It takes a lot of energy, sustained energy, to hold up a facade of something false. We're all pretending something's a certain way. And then somebody just says, hey, holy shit, there's so much tension in this room right now. Boom. It's just the top is blown off of it. Truth feels like congruence. It just feels like the body can open and relax. So you can use this to your advantage when you're thinking of what to do. When you're trying to decide what to do for the day, what to do about something, about a choice to make. If the body likes it, if the body opens up when it considers it, then this is truth. By trusting your body, it wipes away all sorts of confusion and allows you to be so simple. And in that simplicity is a profound power as you move through your life. All right, and then last one. This is a new treat. So this one is surrender to the waves of despair and hope. So here's what I mean. As you move forward on the path of your growth, as you move forward on your journey, as you hack away at something that you're hoping to, at a certain form of success that you're hoping to establish in your life, you will go through waves of hope and despair where some moments you'll be like, okay, I can do this. I can do it. I got this. And then you'll hit despair. I can't do this. This is not happening. And then that'll be replaced with hope and then more despair. And so when we don't know about what I'm going to share with you, when we don't know this, then we struggle to know which one to believe. Do I believe the hope or do I believe the despair? Because both of these feel intensely convincing when we're in them. So the hope is a very convincing hope. It's like, this is really going to happen. And the despair is truly convincing. Like, oh my God, this is never going to happen. So the key now is to not believe one or the other, but instead to notice the intuitive pull towards that success that you're creating, to notice the original inspiration that never, ever, 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 ever goes away. Even though it can sometimes be smothered with doubt, once you remove the doubt, the original inspiration is back there again. As you know this, then what happens is the hope and despair cycles, it becomes a bicycle that you are pedaling. And the highs become less intense and the lows become less intense. And instead, you just develop a keen flow state with what you're creating. The hope is not nearly as intense anymore. The despair is not nearly as intense anymore. The neediness and heaviness around it is not nearly as intense anymore. And then you're just going through cycles of having an idea of something to try, and then you do it, and then you learn and you integrate that experience into the next thing, and you do it, and then you learn and integrate the experience of that into the next thing. And then throughout this whole thing, there's a sense of surrender that comes online, allowing all of this to take as much time as it needs. And so you surrender into the cycles of hope and despair. The language of self-sabotage is always trying to stop you, and it's trying to use terms like never, ever, forever, this is happening or not happening. It's trying to make something concrete. It's trying to make things black and white. Because if it can do that, then the self-sabotage can either stop you or slow you down from moving forward. And trust means, your trust can be so deep that you're no longer trusting that you are going to succeed and get everything that you want out of life. We're not trusting that anymore. We're just trusting the pull, this intense pull to do the thing that you're doing. What else is there to do except the thing that you feel the most deeply called to do? What the hell else is there to do? What the hell else is there to do besides that which you feel intuited to do now, today, this week? Trusting your intuition. Trusting that which arises in you. Trusting that which your body likes, that which your body responds to. The mind does not feel safe trusting this. The mind says, no, 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 I need to make sure and make sure and make sure, whatever. But the mind will never make sure. It wants to, but it never will, right? You and I, forever, we are just moving in a space of unknowing. Forever. There will always be blank spots. There will always be question marks. There will always be unknowing. We will never know for sure. It'll never totally make sense. We'll never totally get there in terms of understanding. We're always making choices in the dark. We're always taking actions in the dark. There's always a jungle element behind what we're doing. And so the very best thing we can do is just find any comfort with that we can. And it does get more comfortable over time. And it's not about like trusting your intuition because it's done something to earn your trust, even though that is the case. But it's about choosing, what do you trust? Do you trust the endless fear-mongering computation thing of your mind? Or do you trust the heart? And again, we consult both. Both are consulted, but one has the 51% majority. Which do you think should have that? Choose and act accordingly. If you think it's like the mind, then do that. And then notice what happens. If you think it's the heart, do that and then notice what happens. Because if you trust the heart, trust the body, what you'll notice, if you're like anybody else, is that things become simple and clear and the path forward is illuminated. And you take action on it. And you take action on it and things open, things move, problems dissolve. Life goes from being a swamp to being a river. The water can circulate. That's how to eliminate self-doubt. If you're interested in one-on-one work with me or joining the Sovereign Creators Collective, you'll see links for that below. Check them out. Please hit like on the video if you've enjoyed this. It really helps me out. Helps out the channel. Please subscribe too if you want to. And that is all. Catch you later.